Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Don Williamson. I'm the chairman of the board of the CoronaChamber of Commerce for 2020. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a very good crowd online, and I appreciate that. And well, before we get started, I just would like to share with you that today is a significant day. It's California Admissions Day. In 1850, California joined the United States of America. And also here in Corona, this is the 107th anniversary of our first road race that we had. Here's a ticket that I hope you can see that of that road race. And if you were going to be in town on that day, you better have one of these tickets, even if you lived here, and it would hook onto your button. So this was a day that really put Corona on the map internationally. So I'd just like to mention that to keep the continuity and let you know that Corona has a very proud history. That was one of the things the early settlers did to get Corona going again. We have a really good agenda today. We have a lot of valuable information that you're going to get, and I know this will be a good use of your time. Today, our call is sponsored by the County of Riverside. The County of Riverside is always there to help you. If you ever have a question, you can call the office of Supervisor Karen Spiegel, who will direct you to any of the necessary departments that she has that we have available to us in the county. If you're interested in sponsoring this call, please contact the CoronaChamber of Commerce, and we would love to have you do that. As always, please, after our speakers are completed, there will be time for questions. If you have a question, please use the chat button. And the chat button then goes to Stephanie, and Stephanie then filters through them and will ask our speakers your questions. That way she can, there's also people watching on Facebook, so this allows us to have streamline the questions and not have duplications. This call is part of our chamber's attempt to serve our members all the better. And this is one of the many things we do at the chamber every day to serve you and our membership. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce to you our first speaker, which is Altie Holcomb. Altie is the field representative for State Senator Richard Roth. He's a 20-year veteran of the United States Marine Corps, having served in the Persian Gulf War and Operation Iraqi Freedom. It's my pleasure to turn it over to Altie.
Hi, well, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Don. Thank you for inviting me here today to speak to you. I'm just going to speak briefly, maybe 2 or 3 minutes on the California Savers program. Now, I don't know if you all ever heard of CalSavers, but basically it's a retirement savings program sponsored by the state of California for those who do not have like a government-sponsored retirement program, like the state teachers retirement system or CalSTRS or enrolled in PERS. This is more for the private sector. And once I get off, I'm going to put up the in the chat box the website for the CalSavers program. But just a few points on that. It's government, so you know there's going to be a mandate. And the mandate for employers is to either sign up for it or either sign up for the CalSavers retirement program or have your own retirement plan. Now, there's a key date coming up. There's 3 dates actually, but the most important date, if an employer has more than 100 employees, then that employer needs to sign up by the end of this month. That is by September 30th of 2020. You have to sign up if you have more than 100 employees and you do not currently have a retirement savings program. Now, it's important to know that there are no employer contributions, so there are no out-of-pocket costs for you as an employer. And for the employee, the retirement accounts are portable. So if they leave their job and go to another job, they still retain their accounts. And employees cannot borrow from it. There's much more information on the CalSavers website, so I'm going to post that in a second here in the chat box. But if you have any questions for it, and I believe that either Stephanie or Bobby or Desiree or someone from the chamber has possession of the PDFs that are currently on your screen. And I will ask you, Stephanie, if it hasn't been done already, if you can pass it out to the wider audience there. That way they can take a look at it and access the website. But I'm going to post it right now in the chat room. So just for a cursory discussion on this, do you guys have any questions about this program?
Stephanie, anyone put any questions out there?
Yes, we have one question at this time. The state has a senior meal program that's currently set to end on September 30th. With the governor keeping the state shut down, what is the possibility for extending this meal program?
There's been some initial discussion on continuing that program. I think they're referring to the Great Plates program. But what I'll do is I will get some information on that. I'll get more clarity. Right now it's in the discussion phase, but it's not certain as of yet. But I'm going to get more clarity on that. And what I'll do, Stephanie, is I'll send it to you. That way you can send it to everybody.
Great, thank you. We do have another question as well. What is Senator Roth's position on Proposition 15?
His position, actually, he has not shared that with me personally. He trusts the voters. He trusts the voters. I know it's a political question, and that's fine, but he trusts the voters to make their own decisions. Each of us has a vote in these propositions, and he believes that that's an individual choice.
Thank you. Those are all the questions for right now.
Thank you very much. And Altie, thank you for joining us today. Always good to see you and have you here with us. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Don.
Our next guest is Wendell Bugtai. He's the Land and Use Policy Advisor for Riverside County Supervisor Karen Spiegel, who is our supervisor here locally and from District 2. Wendell.
Thanks, Don. Thanks for having me here. Good morning, everyone. Just a couple updates from the county. Wanted to give you an update as far as COVID goes. On September 8th, which is yesterday, Riverside County had confirmed COVID cases of about 54,572. Of that, 48,118 have recovered, and we have about 1,075 deaths. On August 31st, 2020, the governor did roll out a plan for reducing COVID and adjusting the permitted sector activities in response to keeping California healthy and safe. Each county was assigned a tier-based system measuring the adjusted case rate and test positivity for the prior two reporting periods. Good news and bad news for that. Riverside County is at the most restrictive tier, which is purple for now, but our numbers are improving. For Riverside County, we are currently testing at about 129.7 people per 100,000 population per day. The California Department of Public Health calculated our case rate at about 7.4 per 100,000, but we had to adjust that up because we are testing below the state average as of now. So our adjusted case rate is 8.6 per 100,000. On the good side, our positivity rate is at about 7.8%. So we have decreased below the state's 8% threshold to move to the next tier. Unfortunately, that doesn't get us to the red tier, which is the next tier down to open more businesses. We have to meet both the case rate and positivity rate metrics, and we have to meet them for 2 weeks before we can move to the next tier. I will have on the chat box, I'll post the state plan link as well as the chart for the different tiers. So that's kind of what we have on the COVID end. Kind of segueing into that, on July 24th, the county did launch a Masks Are Medicine campaign. The goal is to provide about 10 million masks to be distributed via schools, faith-based organizations, senior services, food banks, and nonprofits. So if you or anyone you know is interested in obtaining masks, I will post a link to the Masks Are Medicine campaign. In addition, the county is working on the census, which is done every 10 years, and this provides money for states and counties. And right now we're at about a 65% participation rate. We'd like to see that go up, and the reason for that is this federal funding allocation provides about $2,000 for each county resident that fills out the census, and that's a 10-year span. So that's a big chunk of money for each person that fills out a census. The last day to participate in the census as of now is September 30th, which is closing in here pretty soon. And I'll post a link to the census as well in the chat box. A couple other things, transportation related for the county. the 91 project, which is on August 12th, the Riverside County Transportation Commission did award a contract for the State Route 91 Corridor Operations Project. That project is a 2-mile stretch. It's a general purpose lane in the westbound direction of the 91 from Green River to the State Route 241. The construction for that should begin sometime in October of this year and be completed by the late 2021. And I've got a link to that as well for anyone interested in getting more information on that. Other projects that we're working on a county basis is we are working on the Temescal Canyon Road widening project, which is between Tom Barnes and El Cerrito. That project will increase the lanes from 1 lane to 2 lanes on both ends, just to improve traffic in that area. We're still in the infancy stages. The Transportation Department is working on the design as we speak, so see that coming in the next couple of years. We have completed the El Cerrito, or we're close to completing the El Cerrito repaving project in the unincorporated community of El Cerrito. So that rehabilitation project is either complete as of this week or should be completed within the next week or so. In addition, we have the Hamner Bridge widening, which we're working with the city of Norco and Eastvale. That widening is actually going to add 2 additional lanes and a pedestrian trail to the existing bridge, which is a much needed project given we have Silver Lakes and the new city hall and everything else that's going on in that area. So we're pretty excited about that. As well, last but not least, we've got the fast track project between the 9115 that goes into the county of San Bernardino to the 60 freeway. That should be completed by the end of this year. So we're excited about that one as well. And last but not least, if you haven't already subscribed, I will post the link to subscribe to Supervisor Spiegel's website and newsletter, so you can get the most updated information. So with that, that is my update.
Thank you, Wendell. Stephanie, do we have any questions for Wendell?
Yes, thank you. There were a lot of topics that you covered. Definitely appreciate that. We have a few different questions for you.
Sure.
First off, can you share about the fires that are going on in the county and if there are any outreach programs the county has to assist those who are evacuated?
I would actually defer that to, I think we have our Chief of Staff, Michelle Neeson, on the line. She's been working with the fires and the outreach program, I believe. If not, I can actually get you some more information on that.
Okay, great. The other question is about, where'd it go? The census. So you mentioned that the census is about 60-something% completed for our area. So what's going to happen if that doesn't get completed? And I know that you said that there's, $2,000 per person, this is a 10-year thing, but what are you guys doing to ensure that they all get counted, and what happens if they don't?
So there is an outreach program. The executive office at the county is working on the census per se, and they're working with a lot of nonprofits out in the desert and out in all the various districts to outreach. We do have some federal funding, state funding that we're using to make sure that we get out the vote, get out the census and get out the information. As far as the census goes, we're not asking for your citizenship or anything like that. They just want to know who's living in your district or in the area, so they can accurately count for, who's there and what the population is.
Okay, the last question we have is, when exactly is that Eastvale Narco project supposed to start?
So I think they're looking at, because it is going through the city of Norco, who is taking the lead on it, but the last that I've heard, it should be starting either spring or summer of next year.
Thank you. Those are all the questions at this time.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, Wendell, thank you very much for being here with us today. We appreciate your information.
Thanks, Don.
And I don't know if Michelle's on the line, and I know she is on the line if she wants to weigh in on the fires. Michelle, you're welcome if you want to chime in. If not.
No, I'm sorry, I was on mute. So we did recently receive an update regarding the El Dorado fire. The latest numbers for the El Dorado fire show that there's over 11,000 acres have been burned. There is an evacuation order in parts of Cherry Valley. What I can do is provide a link in the chat box where you can get all of the latest updates so that you can get really an hourly play-by-play if for additional information. But there is an evacuation warning for El Dorado fire east of Beaumont Avenue to Highland Springs, north of Cherry Valley. There's let's see, there is at 88, excuse me, I'm sorry. We're having some technical difficulties with some websites down at the county, so please excuse my delay here.
Michelle, this is Bobby. Could you possibly just forward that information to Stephanie, and then when we send the recap of this, we can get that and they can have specific links?
Yes, absolutely. I will do that.
Perfect.
Okay, great. All right, then we'll look forward to that, Michelle. Thank you so much. I know we sprung that on you, so I appreciate your quick and ready and willing response. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have one of our most important members of our city staff from the Corona Economic Development Department, the director, Jessica Gonzales. Jessica.
Good morning, all. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you. So I want to just provide a couple quick updates. Understanding, of course, these are ever-evolving times in terms of guidance and protocols for our business community. We have two opportunities to provide guidance to assist our businesses via webinars, and we're proud to be partnering with the CoronaChamber of Commerce on these two events. The first one will occur next week on Tuesday, September 15th, 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. and it's best practices and recovery strategies for your restaurant. And as the name implies, we are going to be providing guidance via industry partners to our restaurant community to help them conduct operations in a safe and inviting manner where customers and their families can enjoy delicious food while supporting, of course, our local eateries here and making sure the safety of their customers and employees are well maintained. So next Tuesday, September 15th, we're actually going to have some of our county partner agencies join us as well. We're having Riverside County Environmental Health and also Business and Community Services join us with informative presentations, new grant opportunities that will be unveiled. And then also the Small Business Development Center, we're fortunate they are bringing a seasoned restaurateur with 30+ years of knowledge and expertise that will be sharing how to do menu and pricing adjustments, how to leverage effective marketing and financing strategies, and ensuring that our restaurant community can be resilient. He actually authored restaurant reopening guidelines, and so we're excited to have him join this webinar next Tuesday, September 15, 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. via Zoom. And so I know that the Chamber has been sharing that information. Be on the lookout for more marketing pushes. But certainly if you have a restaurant or if you have a favorite in town that you know could participate, should participate, we do appreciate you sharing that information. And then lastly, as a quick preview, on October 26th, we are partnering with the CoronaChamber of Commerce and California Manufacturing Technology Consulting on a Women in Manufacturing webinar. Very excited to be able to offer this coinciding with National Manufacturing Month that occurs in October. So be on the lookout for more details. That's going to bring awareness to the manufacturing industry, and certainly we'll be sharing that with not only our local community here, but also our students that are that next generation workforce. We want to make sure that they're excited about careers in the manufacturing industry. So two informative webinars, October 26th, manufacturing, but immediately next week, Tuesday, September 15th, the restaurant webinar, best practices and recovery strategies. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Do we have any questions for Jessica, Steph?
No questions at this time.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. We really appreciate Jessica and the job you do here for the city. Thank you. Every week on this call, I always stress this. As the Chamber of Commerce has evolved since 1910 when we first started, the importance and the tasks that we do have changed. And we're to the point now where one of the most important things we do is legislative action. Legislative action is key in the state of California. And we as a Chamber of Commerce are involved in every layer of government to protect and help our businesses be able to thrive and succeed, not only in Corona, but here in the state of California. And it's a hard job. And we are very fortunate to have on our team Jeff Gibson from Occidental Communications Group to lead us and advise us. And this is why I stress, the bigger we are and the stronger we are, and then the more influence we have in helping. And when you get your chamber membership, and if you're thinking about joining the chamber, this is really an important function that we have, and we're very active. And I will tell you, frankly, we're one of the most active chambers of commerce in the state of California for legislative involvement. So at this time, I would like to introduce our advisor from Occidental Communications Group, Jeff Gibson.
Good morning, everyone. As we discussed last week, the legislature is out of session currently, and the governor is deciding on a number of the bills that we spent a great deal of time lobbying on.
Jeff, you muted.
You got muted, Jeff. There
Yep.
you go.
Sorry about that. Blew out my own microphone. So something I wanted to deal with today is Prop 15. We've already started discussing it on the call. We've been discussing and tracking it with you for a number of months. We have been routinely the first chamber out of the gate every year to oppose legislation that would remove Prop 13 protections, whether it's on what is commonly known as a split roll or for residential property. The idea of a split roll is that you literally split the property assessment roll between commercial properties, shopping centers, mixed-use centers like the apartment complex that was built on North Main, and residential property. And Prop 15 proposes to do just that. Now, residential, a lot of people in residences think, well, that's commercial property, but well over 75% of leases are what are known as triple net leases, which means immediately that the increase in property taxes, and in most cases, it's going to be a 250 to 500% increase in property taxes. Willie Brown, the longtime Speaker of the State Assembly, who was known as the Ayatollah of the Assembly when he was there, has come out against this, saying that it would be the greatest single job stealer of minority-owned businesses in the history of the state of California. It would add billions of dollars in additional costs to the updates of the 91, the 15, anything that makes it possible to bring jobs here to Corona and to increase business opportunities. It takes all of the constitutional protections for property that have been in place since 1873, independent of whether they're in Prop 13 or not, and it removes all of those for half the properties in the state. So it replaces that with the legislature. So the legislature could continually change rules on how businesses are taxed in this state. We've seen what the legislature, we have very good relationships with Senator Roth, very good relationships with Assembly Member Cervantes, but we, as business people who have been active in this, and there are very few chambers in this state that have been as highly awarded as the CoronaChamber of Commerce has been for its legislative action. I think and Bobby can correct me, I believe we're the only chamber to have 5 members individually named as Small Business Advocate of the Year, which is the highest award. So we've been tracking this very, very closely for a number of years. At no point during our work has the state legislature proposed a tax cut. Have they passed a tax cut across the board for job creation? We are in the deepest recession that the state has ever seen. To tell your neighbors, to tell your drivers, to tell your friends that by passing Prop 15, you are adding billions to the cost of updating the 91 and the 15. It's a crushing blow for those plans. I know all of the plans have been programmed. I know the money is there. Why? Because we've been active in going to seek it. But the one thing that can kill all of those projects dead immediately is raising taxes on the infrastructure materials businesses that have to provide 100% of the equipment and the concrete and the steel and for the overpasses and everything else that we need. You increase those costs by 250%, and there is no budget that can withstand that. And so this is critically important to the CoronaChamber and the state, because we've spent all of this time getting very unwilling legislatures. And Senator Roth gets it, and he's been great. Assemblymember Cervantes has done a fine job supporting transportation funding, but that's 2 of 120. And you put 120 people together, it's been a very, very difficult job that the RCTC has done and all of these other agencies. And so it's critically important to not only vote against Prop 15, but to work with your employees, to work with the people that rely on you, the people that know you, the people that trust you, the people that are in your family, to understand, independent of whether we're taxed too little or too much, we have too much traffic. We have dozens of years of commitments in projects, all of which are threatened to be washed away, so that the legislature each and every year can tell job creators, you know, we're a little short this year. And one of the, for instances, is something that we already know about. There's $54.3 billion in deficits in Sacramento. At no point in US history has a state just received general assistance from the federal government. In fact, the reason we have a US Constitution was because states were starting to stop paying their bills and just sending them to Washington. And so the founders got together again, as we all know, in 1789, 6 years after the Articles of Confederation were put into use, and the Constitution was created. From then to now, no state gets just general assistance. Currently, California is going to get $1 billion to manage our forests better, for instance, clean up our forests and prevent wildfires. We received specific assistance. We received assistance for the 91 freeway, for the 15 freeway, but you don't just get a blank check for, hey, we heard you're having a tough time. Here's $54.3 billion. There's currently a request in from the state of California to the federal government for $200 billion. And there are no there are not 51 votes in the Senate. There are not 218 votes in the House to provide that money. And so if we empower if Prop 15 passes, the legislature could turn around and in the midst of an emergency say, well, you know, we actually would like to raise commercial property taxes even higher, and even higher than that, and even higher than that. And they have the ability to do that under Prop 15. And so so happy to take any questions that you may have, any concerns that you may have. We will be out talking to you about this because it's a major, major policy issue for us, well beyond taxation. And very few people have considered the price of the concrete that's going into the 91 freeway or the 15. We saw that during the last recession when we had a number of projects that were delayed for the better part of a decade while construction prices went sky high. And so we've dealt with this before as a chamber, and we're here to help represent you.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. Stephanie, do we have any questions for Jeff?
Wow, Jeff, thank you for that very impassioned plea about Prop 15. I mean, we keep hearing about it, but you really drove home the point today. We do have a few questions for you. The first one is, in addition to Prop 15, when will we hear about all of the propositions that the Chamber supports or opposes?
So September 16th, next Wednesday, we're going to have a candidate forum for candidates running for office in the city of Corona. The rest of the ballot initiatives we'll discuss on September 23rd. October 5th, you're going to be receiving your vote by home, your unsolicited vote by mail ballot. Everyone in the state of California, every registered voter will be receiving a ballot. You don't have to send it in the mail if you're concerned about the mail. You can, there's a number of different places that you can turn it in, and you still are allowed to vote at the polls. Each city will have 3 to 4 locations. Your local polling place has been canceled, so you'll have a local vote center, for instance. Mine's 5 miles from my house, but but in any case, that's so September 20. But before that happens, September 23rd, we will be going over all of the initiatives.
Great, thank you. What is the breakdown of where the funds are to go if Prop 15 is approved, and is there any accountability?
That's a very good question. 11% are set aside into a fund for community colleges and education, which can be rated at any moment by the state legislature. 89% go into the general fund. For instance, in our current budget crisis, and according to the county assessors, so the county assessors have opposed this unanimously because they just don't have the staff to deal with this. And according to their findings, the state won't net a single new tax dollar into the general fund, which is $54.3 billion short, until 2023. So it will have nothing to do with it will have in no way close the current gap. The second thing it will do is, even at at the most, it would net between $7.5 and $12 billion. So you would still say we have, hopefully, by the love of God and Pete and everybody else, we won't be in a $54.3 billion deficit situation in 2023. But even if we were, you're talking about less than 15% of the deficit could be dealt with this property tax, presuming that that doesn't encourage dozens of businesses and employers to leave the state. So I can tell you, having moved a member of my family to Dallas for college, and having worked with Hertz, the Hertz locations in Orange County have a $4,000 surcharge for moving vans going to Texas if you leave them in Texas. Why? Because in the last 5 years, there hasn't been a single moving van for Hertz that has come back from Texas to California. And so they have a $4,000 charge because they have to put it on a rail car to bring it back. Or it's free if you bring it back. So in any case.
Thank you so much. There are no more questions at this time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, Jeff, thank you again. Appreciate your comments and your advice.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And at this time, I would like to introduce our President, CEO, friend, heart and soul of the CoronaChamber of Commerce, Mr. Bobby Spiegel.
Hey, good morning. How's everyone doing? Donnie, thank you so much. Listen, we've got a couple of exciting things. As you know, I serve on the Riverside County Task Force for the economic recovery. And part of that group has been looking at multiple different things. I'm very excited to share, separate from that group, we have a coalition of some chambers, and I've been working directly with 4 chambers in particular the last week. And we fine-tuned a letter that is being circulated now to many other chambers for them to sign on. And it's time for us to reopen Riverside County. So that letter will be ready. I thought it would be today, but it will be ready late tomorrow. So what we're going to do is email to all of you a link on it. It'll be a simple one-click through for you to be able to just type in your information, and a letter will go automatically to the governor, as well as copies to all of our elected officials within Riverside County for the supervisors. And we're very excited to do that. If you have questions or anything on that, please be sure and outreach to me. But we kind of realize that each county in the state of California is unique. And when there is outside dining, for example, is the only thing that's available for restaurants, that's great. But we here in Corona experienced 114-degree weather this last week. Can you imagine what Coachella Valley went through and what they go through every single week? And then also the small businesses. You know, if Walmart can be open, why can't small businesses be open? Again, using protocols and everything else in place. If you do have any questions, please put it in the chat or email me directly. Thank you so much, Donnie. Back to you.
Thank you. Steph, any questions for Bobby?
No questions at this time.
Thank you. Thank you, Bobby.
You betcha.
Next, we'll turn it over to Derek Gallup with UFC Gyms Global. Derek.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for having me have the opportunity to speak with the Chamber of Corona. As one of the founders of UFC Gym, we're so excited with the great partnership we've had from the Chamber of Commerce in Corona. We've been in our gym there, grand opening in 2011, and very excited about getting ourselves back open, kind of echoing on what Bobby had to talk about. We want to get ourselves back up and going. So I want to talk today about how we view that gyms and fitness centers really should be considered essential, and they're very safe for people to be at. And one of the things, I'm also the former chair of IHRSA, which is the International Health Racquet and Sports Club Association. It's the main trade association for all fitness centers. And the overarching goal for IHRSA is to reverse the global physical inactivity epidemic. And with that as kind of the overarching, I wanted to be able to share these slides here. So I don't know if I advance them or if they get advanced for me. Okay, thank you. So I want to kind of focus on the top part of this here first about gyms being safe. So there was a survey done by MXM, with almost 3,000 gyms. And what they looked at was how many check-ins did those 3,000 gyms have? How many members came through and checked in? This goes back from June up until late August. With almost 50 million check-ins, there were fewer than 1,200 cases of COVID, which gives you an infection rate of 0.0023, which really demonstrates that it's insignificant or not even statistically significant, that there's no COVID cases related to working out in gyms. There's another study, I don't have the slide here, but there are 400 traced cases of COVID in Colorado. 0 of them came back to gyms. Half of them were coming back to healthcare locations, 10% were bars and restaurants, another 8% were construction sites, and 8% were grocery stores. So none of that was coming back to gyms. So again, when you look at the data that's there, the gyms are really demonstrating themselves to be a safe place. So why is it essential? Why are fitness centers essential for people, not one in COVID, but 2 anytime? So today, pre-COVID, 1 in 5 Americans were experiencing mental health illness, right? A majority of that being depression and anxiety. What I just got recently, I checked this out last night, since COVID, 1 in 3, 33% of all Americans are experiencing some type of mental health issues going on right now. So what we found is that the data really tells you that working out and being physically active helps you with not only your physical fitness, but also your mental fitness. And so we know that that's important. Now, knowing that 1/3 of Americans are dealing with mental issues, people with that also have a 40% higher risk of developing cardiovascular and metabolic diseases than the general population. So not only does we all know that gyms and fitness centers help with your physical fitness, but now the evidence is really coming out of how it helps with the mental fitness as well. And now here's the other thing that's really kind of scary when you think about this. When you look at what is the minimum expectation, the minimum that the government says we should be moving each day or each week is 150 minutes of light activity. Things like walking where you're under 60, 70% of your max heart rate, or 75 minutes a week of vigorous activity where you're getting up over 70% of your max heart rate. With those, so that means like 30 minutes a day of walking 5 days a week, or 25 minutes a day of vigorous activity for 3 days a week. Less than 1/4 of Americans are actually getting that activity. So we really have an issue. We talked about from IHRSA getting this global physical inactivity epidemic. It is very clear what's happening here. If we could hit one more click here. It's very interesting from Dr. Robert Salas, the co-director of sports medicine for Kaiser Permanente. Kind of talked about his view is going on with COVID. COVID-19 has so vividly exposed our unhealthy lifestyle. Right? That's what we're finding, right? You go through the list of risks for COVID, especially of dying from COVID or being severely ill, and those are diseases of inactivity. It's obesity, it is chronic kidney disease, it's diabetes and hypertension. Those are the things that make you much more likely to go to the hospital or to die from COVID. So Dr. Gonzales says, I believe a lot do, that physical activity is the major public health problem of our time. COVID is exposing that, but really the problem has been our lack of physical inactivity, or lack of physical activity. We'll go to the next slide. So with that as the backdrop, what is it that the fitness industry needs here in California? If we can click, there'll be a few click-throughs here. So what we need is trust, right? We've got 43 states right now that have open gyms and they're doing well with their COVID containment. They're helping members improve their physical and mental health. And we're finding that the gym is really something that actually helps with the transition out of COVID and keeping people out of the hospital and keeping people from dying by having the gyms available. So how are we ensuring safety, right? And this is part of this is what I'm sharing for UFC Gym, but also what's happening throughout the industry, right? So temperature checks for all members and team members as they come in the door. Masks are worn by team members in every location, and members where the local legislation says that we have to have that. It's not unique. It's not everywhere. It's not universal. So we follow the guidelines in each one of our counties. We're maintaining a minimum 6 feet of social distance. We use floor markings. We actually have our team members going around to do reminders to enforce that people are actually, we know this is the most important thing we can do is keep that social distance, and we're really serious about that. We have sanitation stations located every 20 feet throughout the gym with regular member and team member wipe downs of all equipment. And our team gets out and cleans the floor on a regular basis to make sure that everyone is feeling safe throughout their workouts. So that's what we're looking for. If I just go to the last slide, and I wanted to thank you. I just had a few things I wanted to share. I had a brief time here, but I wanted your help to help the fitness industry, help people physically and mentally, and let's reverse this global physical inactivity epidemic that COVID is really exposing that we have. I want to thank everybody for the opportunity to speak today to the chamber, and I guess
Thank you, Derek. Steph, do we have any questions for Derek?
We have one question. Are there any reasons that it would be better to exercise at the gym versus at home?
That's an interesting question, right? Because we're seeing a lot of people now starting to work out at home because the gyms were closed. There was an interesting University of Michigan in the medical department, and it talked about, physical activity exercise is an effective treatment strategy for symptoms both of depression and anxiety. But the interesting thing that they added there was that the sustained motivation can come from peer support groups, family support, and other platforms. And so we know that not only is it just the physical part of this, but also that social aspect of being able to come together, maybe if it's a class or seeing people that you're sharing your goals or sharing stories about what's going on with your family. Again, being safe, keeping your social distance, wearing a mask where appropriate, but we do find that there's so much more advantage to being able to work on a group versus doing it solo. We're meant to be social creatures, and it's one more thing for helping our mental wellness.
Thank you. No more questions.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you again, Derek. Appreciate it. At this time, it is my privilege to introduce our keynote speaker, Riverside County District Attorney Mike Hestrin. The office is an elected office, and Mike became our district attorney in 2015. Before this, he spent almost 20 years as a line prosecutor in the Riverside County District Attorney's office. He's received numerous recognitions over the years, including Countywide Prosecutor of the Year 3 times, Statewide Prosecutor of the Year, and one of California's top 20 lawyers under 40, just to name a few of the recognitions he has received. Most of us, and myself included, feel fortunate to have this guy here serving us in our jurisdiction. He is truly a servant of the people of California, working to make us a safer, better place. Please welcome at this time District Attorney Michael Hestrin.
Thank you very much, Bobby. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. And my talk today is called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly of the update. Bobby and I came up with that, and Bobby had some strong opinions about which is the good, which is the bad, and which is the ugly. I'll leave it to you to figure out which is which, and we'll maybe at the end we'll hear from you during the questions. But I want to just kind of give you a sense of what's happening now in your courts, what's happening in your DA's office, and based on COVID and based on the lockdown. So obviously we've been locked down just like everybody else. The courts though have begun to reopen cautiously, and so some of you may be getting jury summons. If you're getting jury summons, please don't throw them out. We are requiring jurors to come in. We are conducting jury trials. The courts are taking precautions to deal with COVID. They're spacing out jurors. So for example, if you get called to jury duty, you're not going to sit in the jury box next to your fellow jurors, but they're going to use the whole courtroom as the jury box and spread people out, filling up the entire space. So that's one thing. Witnesses have masks on, lawyers have masks on. There's some real challenges to this. As you can imagine, in our justice system, when a witness testifies, they have to get up and actually do it in person. We can't do it by just written form. Part of that is because we believe in our system that if someone's going to be accused of a crime that overcomes that presumption of innocence, then they have to be, in the chair, and the jury has to be able to assess their credibility. So that's an issue when you have people wearing masks. So we're trying to figure that out. Obviously, each courtroom is a little bit different, but overall, I think the courts are doing well. They're being cautious. There's a balance that they're using, and so we are slowly but surely coming back to life in the sense of doing jury trials. I think we're one of the few counties that are doing jury trials, certainly to the extent that we are. I think last Friday we had six jury trials across the county that finished up. So I want to let you know that we're still doing our job. The courts are open, cautiously, kind of moving towards regular business. We're not there yet. Everything is slowed down, and certainly civil cases and those kinds of cases are even slower. But we're kind of coming out of hibernation, so to speak. Now the DA's office, we're doing okay. We're trudging along. A lot of our folks are working remotely, or we have a system where we try not to have everybody in the office at the same day, but we are in the office. I'm in the office today. I'm in the office most days. One of the things that COVID has brought to light is the use of technology. All of us now, do things like this meeting on Zoom and Teams and other platforms. And the courts are no different. We are now making many more virtual appearances than we ever did. I think it's good and bad. There's some really positive things about making virtual appearances in court. And I think that going forward, you're going to see a lot more of that. The DA's office, what we're dealing with though, since the courts were shut down in March, partially shut down, I just kind of want to explain what's happened to those cases. Because when the courts shut down partially, meaning we weren't having jury trials or having people come into the courts, there's one part of the court system that was not shut down, and that is that so to speak, the intake part. So we kept filing criminal matters. Police, sheriffs kept arresting lawbreakers. We kept filing those cases, and then we would go into court, either personally or virtually, and people were getting charged. And then the case was being put off to some far later date with the idea that the COVID crisis would be passed by then. Well, that didn't happen, and so we're calling it. It's almost like the python that swallowed the pig. We've got a big group of cases that's working its way through the python's body, and we're trying to deal with that. We call it the COVID tsunami in a sense. Thousands and thousands of cases that didn't get dealt with. So my office is very busy. We've got our work cut out for us, but we're charging ahead, and we're diving in. All my prosecutors, all my investigators, all my advocates, and everybody else that works on these teams are working very hard to get these cases processed through the system as best we can. There's still slowdowns that are built in because of COVID. So we're not totally back to normal, but we're getting there. So let me just talk quickly about how the DA's office is doing, how the county's doing. You may have heard about, county budget crunch, and all that's true. We're currently in a hiring freeze, but I will say, and I have to give a little credit to the county here, which I'm sometimes reluctant to do, but the county's doing okay here. I think the supervisors and the CEO's office are, sort of managing this crisis in a way that's not leading to a crash from my perspective. We do have a hiring freeze, but we didn't take terrible cuts. We've had no layoffs. Part of that is the county's, kind of brought this to a smooth landing, so to speak. We still have to kind of slow everything down in terms of hiring and personnel. But for the last 2 years, the DA's office has come in with a slight surplus in our budget, meaning that we gave money back at the end of the year. Probably don't hear a lot of government agencies that do that, but we did, and we're proud of that. I'm proud of that. When I ran for office, I promised that I would do that if I ever could. And this last 2 years were the first time that I could. So we're doing well financially. We're doing well fiscally. The county's doing okay, and we haven't had massive layoffs. And I don't think you're going to see that this year. So we're kind of treading water, I guess, and holding the line. Even though we have this huge influx of cases, we're not doing a bunch of hiring to meet that demand, but we are mobilizing everybody that we have, and we're not losing anybody. So to me, that's been a win for the DA's office and for law enforcement. So I want to kind of end with one area that's new and interesting at the DA's office. Our newest employee is someone that you might be interested in. His name is Chewie, and he's a English Labrador Retriever. And you might wonder why the DA is hiring a dog, but I want to try to play a video for you, and then I want to tell you why we hired this new investigator. And by the way, we got a grant to pay for his salary. So let me try to share the screen here if I can, Stephanie.
You have permissions.
Okay, let's see if I can do this. Can you see that?
Yes, we can.
Well, we only see.
Well, we can see your email.
Uh-oh, okay. You're not seeing the YouTube video?
Not yet.
You have to click on the video and open it.
How about now?
No, but
Can you move that to the screen where your email currently is if you have dual screens?
I don't.
can you forward that link, or Stephanie, can you type that in and maybe we can do
Sure.
that?
Let me see.
All you have to do is stop sharing and then reshare, but pick the YouTube screen.
Thanks,
Sorry,
Tim.
I'm not a YouTube. I'm not a. You can see that I'm not that proficient in Zoom, so apologize.
That's okay. We didn't hire you or vote for you for that position of Zoom stuff. You're doing the right stuff.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna skip it. So it's Stephanie, you can go back to just sharing the main screen. So
I'm gonna write down that link and then I will take it off.
Okay, so Chewie is an English Labrador Retriever, and we hired him. We got him, obviously. He has a handler. He's an electronic detection dog. The reason why we went to the lengths of getting an electronic detection dog is that one of the side effects of COVID and the lockdowns is that we've seen about a 90% increase in child pornography and child trafficking for sexual purposes. And it's really bad news, unfortunately, but I have to share that with you. I always try not to depress everybody when I speak at these events, but in the first 6 months of 2020, we saw a 90% increase in this crime. To give you a sense of the actual numbers, in the first 6 months of 2019, we had about, all of 2019, we had about 1,250 incidents of this kind of child exploitation that were referred to us for investigation or prosecution. Unfortunately, we've surpassed the total for all of 2019 in 6 months of this year. So it's really pretty depressing. We got Chewie, the electronic detection dog, because we are really ramping up our efforts to combat this scourge and keep our children safe. What we think is happening is you've got more children online, you've got more adults online because of the lockdowns, and the predators out there are taking this opportunity to prey upon our children. What Chewie does is he works with a team of investigators, a task force that we have that goes out and basically patrols, monitors the internet. A lot of times these traffickers, these criminals, these predators they collect the images that of their crimes, and they are smart, or they think they're smart, and they store them on electronic, separate hard drives or electronic devices or thumb drives, and then they hide that in their home. Well, you can imagine that a team of investigators would have a hard time locating that. There's a famous case, if you're not familiar with the case of Jared, the spokesperson for Subway. Jared was, you all remember Jared from Subway? He lost all that weight while he was eating Subway subs and got very famous. Well, he was also a child predator, and he hid a lot of the evidence of his crime in a thumb drive, and then he duct taped it underneath the floorboards of his house. An electronic detection dog, not Chewie, but one used by the FBI, was able to find that evidence in about 30 seconds. As you know, with canines, their sense of smell is just off the charts, and they can use that for investigative purposes. Well, Chewie and all other electronic detection dogs are trained to actually smell and sniff out and then alert on the components of electronic storage devices. And so Chewie will go into a home and he'll find a hidden jump drive, a hidden hard drive in seconds, and in a way that human investigators would not be able to do. And so in the short time that Chewie's been working with us, he has just been amazing. We are making a lot of arrests, and I'm telling you, it's a huge problem around the state, around the nation. But I want you to know that in this county, we take a very hard line. Look, if you're trafficking kids, I'm going to send you to prison, and I'm not making any bones about it. I don't apologize for that. I'm going to keep you in prison as long as I can. And this is just one part of it, but Chewie plays a big role in it, because without that evidence that they keep, a lot of times we can't build an effective case. So Stephanie, did someone do the work for me and pull up the video? Is that what happened?
Video's ready when you are.
All right, do you want to play it?
Stephanie, you're gonna play it?
All right, well, I'm going to wrap up now. I just want a couple final points. Chewie is sponsored by a nonprofit organization called Operation Underground Railroad. And the historical allusion there is to Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad from the days when we had slavery in this country. And there was a network of people that helped people escape the horrors of slavery. And I think it's an appropriate title, because modern day sex trafficking and child trafficking is the equivalent of slavery, and we should treat it as such. It is a horrible, horrible scourge on our society, and the very technology that we're using here today has made this crime and this horrible evil proliferate. And so, you know, now's the time to sit down and talk to your children, talk to your grandchildren, talk to any relatives about how to use the internet safely, how to use social media safely. If you want help in doing that, we have ways to help you on our website. I'll be glad to share some of those tips with you about how to talk to kids, relatives about internet safety. But we've all got to pitch in. Chewie's doing great work, but we've got to prevent this horrible crime. I'll arrest and we will arrest, and I'll prosecute offenders. But the best thing is if our kids don't fall prey to this in the first place. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Michael. Great job. Thank you. Stephanie, do we have any questions for the district attorney?
We have a few. Does Chewie go home with his handler at the end of the day?
He does. He lives with his handler. They form a very tight bond. And then one thing I did want to mention, it's a little bit outside the question, but Chewie also has a dual role, another role. When children are victimized, he also serves as a comfort dog. So when they go to court to testify about the abuse that they've suffered, they can have Chewie with them in the courtroom, and the law says that they're allowed to do that. And so we are planning to use Chewie in that way as well.
Wonderful. You had mentioned that he was sponsored by an organization. Do you know how much it would cost to have him if he was not sponsored?
It's expensive. The biggest expense is his training. His training is very specialized, as you can imagine, and it's all documented. But when he goes into court, his handler, when he's involved in a case, his handler has to testify as to his training, all that went into it. And so it is quite expensive. I don't know the exact amount, but it's in the tens of thousands of dollars.
Thank you. Could you also bring us up to date on the bill that you introduced about theft?
It's not a bill that I introduced. It's Proposition 20, and it's on the November ballot. I have in the past, I think, spoken to this group about how I'm supporting it unequivocally. I think Prop 20 will be a good first step, but it's on the ballot. So vote for it. It'll basically take a very commonsensical step to combat serial theft. And what it does essentially is it allows local prosecutors to file felony charges on theft after the third offense of a misdemeanor theft. If you do 3 in a row, you can be the DA can file a felony. It also drops the amount. So under current law, as long as someone steals less than $950 worth of merchandise, that's going to be a misdemeanor. Prop 20 would lower that threshold to $250. I think that is going to help our businesses, because we've got a lot of businesses that are watching essentially $1,000 of merchandise walk out the door, and then it's a misdemeanor, and they can't. They call my office, and we tell them, well, there's little that we can do about it, unfortunately.
Is there any campaign planned for Prop 20 to help get the word out?
It's sort of been word of mouth. There is a company that's been buying up ads and commercials and those kinds of things. And I think you'll see as we get closer to the election, you'll see a bit of a focus on that. Yes, there is a plan. There is a campaign team, and they hired political consultants and all the whole works.
Thank you so much. There are no more questions at this time.
Thank you all.
Thank you. And, you've always been very generous with your time and supporting us, Mr. District Attorney. I just want to thank you very much, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you all.
Remember, every week you need to register for these calls. And this was a great call today, in my opinion. So thank you all for being here. And next week is another exciting topic. We're going to have the city council candidates from District 3. There are 3 candidates in that district, and all 3 have responded that they will participate. So please go sign up right now. There's the registration information on your screen. And if you want to be permanently signed up, you can send an email there to Stephanie at the chamber. I'd like to once again finally thank all of today's speakers, and to the County of Riverside for sponsoring. Again, there's sponsoring opportunities. If you are interested, please contact the Chamber of Commerce. And before we close today, I have a few announcements. I'd like to invite the chair-elect for the CoronaChamber of Commerce from Creative Design to join me, Kim Maybon, and we have a few announcements. And we'll kick it off with Kim.
Thank you, Don. Just a reminder to those of you who are not yet a member, or if you know of a neighboring business that would find chamber membership beneficial, please connect with Robert Yanez to become part of our chamber family. We do service a regional landscape. If you refer a member, you'll get a free advertisement in the Corona Business News.
This Friday, in just a couple days, will be an anniversary of one of the saddest days in American history, September 11th. We're going to recognize that sad event at 6:35 at the CoronaChamber of Commerce with a brief ceremony. So if you can make it down there, please join us to commemorate the tragedy of September 11th, 2001.
Our next Good Morning Corona will be next Friday, September 18th. Register today to save $15 per entry. Both virtual and in-person tickets are available.
Our next Coffee with an Entrepreneur will be with Greg and Bonnie Yoder from Crumbles Cookies. That's the cookie shop right down there by Stater Brothers on Magnolia. It'll be on Monday, September 14th, which is this coming Monday, on Zoom. It's this program is held in sponsorship with the City of Corona. It's free to attend. Please register today. There's the information on your screen of registering. And if you miss any of these on the screens, you can always just go to our website, the Chamber's website. Past programs are available to watch on our website, on YouTube, and on Facebook.
Please join us for the Restaurant Recovery webinar on Tuesday, September 15th at 9 a.m. It is free to attend, and we'll cover safety guidelines, financing and marketing, customer experience, and much more. It's co-hosted by the City of Corona, Inland Empire Small Business Development Center, and Riverside County Environmental Health Department. Share with a friend and register at mychamber.org.
We have our golf tournament, the Corona Golf Classic, scheduled for October 29th. Please look at the sponsors that we have there on the screen that are assisting us in putting this event on. We have a few sponsorships left. If you don't have a foursome and you still want to participate, please do. We encourage that. And we'll invite frontline healthcare workers to golf with you or your team to put that, round out your group. Sponsorship is a great way to get your business recognized, to build relationships, and to have fun. We also, as part of this event, have opportunity tickets. You can buy those. This is to allows us to have more participants from our healthcare heroes, and you have a chance to win prizes. You can see any member of the Chamber of Commerce board for tickets, or right at the Chamber of Commerce office itself. There's some great prizes, including gift cards, big screen smart TV, and a Fender guitar.
The Women's Leadership Conference will be Thursday, September 24th. Topics include preventing teen burnout, speaking up for success, pivoting in the pandemic, and selling with a servant heart. We will also have a physicians panel and are accepting anonymous questions at mychamber.org/WLC. Post your question now. This is a 100% virtual conference with some fun new elements to help engage our audience. New this year, you can purchase an exciting conference mystery box. You won't want to miss it, so register now. Use promo code CCBB to save $20 per ticket. And don't forget, men are welcome too.
Register now for Paul Webb's very popular workshop, which will be held on Thursday, November 5th. Paul is a licensed NLP master trainer with over 43 years of sales training experience. The focus will be on personality types. If you've missed any of the past workshops, don't worry, because he'll do a quick review before going into the new material. It's free for members of the CoronaChamber of Commerce when you register by September the 30th.
Don previously mentioned the topic for next week, and in 2 weeks, join us for an in-depth analysis of the ballot measures in the November election. You'll see the bit.ly link to register on the screen now. Remember, they are case sensitive. If you'd like to be automatically registered for every meeting, please email your request to stephanie@mychamber.org.
Thank you, Kim. Great to have so many of you on the call today. Please join us again next week and put this on your calendar for a weekly event. We appreciate you being here. So thank you very much, and we'll talk to you next week.